preserve that evidence. We've continued to preserve it, and that has helped us arrive at where we are today. So as the investigation continues, we discover that Sherry had been living at that home on Crows Bluff Lane, along with her longtime boyfriend, Gary Durant, and 3 other roommates. At the time, interviews with those individuals, we were able to determine, and Gary Durant, that there was an argument between Gary Durant and Sherry, and on the 2nd of December, so a day prior to the homicide, he essentially kicked her out of that residence. Okay, and when those type of things would happen in the past, indications were that she would go and stay in the wooded areas when something like that would occur. She was last seen on December 3rd, 1999, at a bar called Uncle Nick's Bar, located at 2605 Park Drive. It's been lies and alibis after that's changed hands a couple of times, but back then it was Uncle Nick's Bar. Witness statement said that she left anywhere between 7:30 p.m. and 11 p.m. Okay, so that window, we were able at the time to narrow it any smaller than that. And there were multiple statements given indicating that she could have possibly left that bar that night with 2 individuals that were patrons of the bar, regulars of the bar. We had multiple statements, but nothing, investigators weren't able to corroborate any of those statements with physical evidence at the time or confirm those statements. However, those 2 individuals obviously remain persons of interest in the case. If you can see on the map from the bar, Uncle Nick's Bar, to the wooded location where she was found, it was about 0.6 of a mile, okay, about a half a mile, where we assume she would have walked from one to the other. Okay. We also, based on the investigation, we were aware that between 1996 and 1999, there were a number of domestic violence incidents that Sanford Police Department had responded to involving Sherry and Gary Durant. Okay, so that was kind of a history in their relationship. Roommates had stated that night that Gary Durant was in the house on Crows Bluff the night of the homicide. However, they couldn't put him there for the whole night. Okay. However, some of the indications were that he left late on the 3rd or early on the 4th at some point and returned between 2:30 a.m. and 7 a.m. on the 4th. So we've got gaps in that alibi. Durant, however, had told investigators that he had not seen Sherry since the 1st. In 2023, one of our major crimes investigators, Investigator Justine Hooper, and one of our crime scene techs, Catherine Lopez, they reopened the case, we're looking at it, and they resubmitted evidence in May of 2023, the DNA evidence that was on the knife and the sexual kit. They resubmitted them. In June of this year, in 2024, we received the results back. They tested positive and confirmed a positive match for DNA blood on the blade of Sherry. And in those other areas on the knife where there was the insufficient samples to test back in 1999-2000, that came back for a positive match from Gary Durant. In addition, it eliminated the 2 other persons of interest that were in the case in 1999, so it's excluded them as suspects at that point. Investigators were able to make contact and re-interview the witnesses that were involved in the case back in 1999. Some of them were deceased, but they were able to interview a number of them that were still alive. And one significant piece of information that they gained during those interviews is that at the time of the homicide, when Durant returned to the home, he made statements indicating that he had seen Sherry's body and assisted in the crime scene with Sherry's body. However, at the time he said that, it was prior to Sanford Police Department having even been notified and discovered her body at that point. So he's essentially putting himself at the scene. All right, so on the 17th, July 17th, the arrest warrant was issued for Gary Durant. Yesterday, July 18th, he was located in Orange City, in Volusia County, in a wooded area off of Veterans Memorial Parkway. He was taken into custody with the assistance of Volusia County Sheriff's Office and 2 of their narcotics task forces, and he was charged with 2nd-degree homicide. So, That's kind of the large overview. Do I have specific questions about the case before I turn it back over to Chief?
Well, I do this question. So you mentioned 2 persons of interest. They're now eliminated.
Correct.
You believe this is the sole responsibility of the person who's now sitting in the Seminole County?
Correct. Those 2 persons of interest back then, there was nothing really to corroborate those statements. It was, you know, bar patrons, I think, maybe, nothing substantial. However, the DNA excludes them as suspects.
Does she have any surviving family that you've been able to notify, and what was their reaction?
She does have an adult son that is out of state, and we're still working to get in touch with that person.
What caused this department to open the case? Was it just a routine matter?
I mean, nothing's routine in law enforcement, but, you know, our homicide investigators are dedicated to solving current cases, and these cases that sit on our shelves are something that they pull out and look through from time to time to see if we've got new evidence, if we can take a new approach to it. New technology comes out, and they want to make sure that they're not missing any possibilities to go back and solve these cases.
Did Mr. Durant's make any statements after his arrest to your investigators?
He did make statements afterwards to the investigators, and essentially he has, to some extent, admitted his involvement in her homicide, and so we are absolutely positive that the right man is behind bars tonight, and he will finally serve justice and have to answer for his crimes.
So was that confession detailed?
It was absolutely, positively, without a doubt, he has acknowledged his involvement in Sherry Holtz's homicide. That's what I'll say. Okay? All right, Chief Smith.
Again, thank you all for being here today. I do want to recognize Investigator Justine Hooper and Crime Scene Tech Katie Lopez for their diligent work on this case. The arrest is due to their hard work, and with the assistance of FDLE, the Volusia County Sheriff's Department, and the Seminole County State's Attorney's Office, all of which helped us bring justice for Sherry's family. And we kind of hope that this small effort right now brings them some peace of mind that we've had an opportunity to close this case after 24 years. I know there was a question about what we do with regards to cold cases. Our investigators have the opportunity to go through those cases, to look at those cases where we can justify and ensure that we're going to get prosecution, and that we have enough evidence to make sure that we can get to prosecution. We've worked very, very diligently with the Seminole County State's Attorney's Office to ensure that when we provide information to them, that it's going to go to the point that we put someone behind bars. And that's what we really are going to try to continue to do as we move forward. Again, we just kind of hope that that this brings some peace to the family, knowing that an individual who was a longtime boyfriend will spend the rest of his natural life in jail and have the opportunity to face justice for the things that he has committed to Sherry.
Chief, there are other families that are out there that are also waiting for answers. I mean, I guess I want to say, a lot of times we hear from them saying, they're not working on my case, they're not trying to explain that this is a long process, but it's a process that never ends.
It never ends. You know, one of the important parts that we always look at is when we have an opportunity to open a case. Is there new evidence? Is there a new witness that's coming forward that gives us the things we need to take it to the State's Attorney's Office to make sure that the individuals who we get the information on will be prosecuted? Well, thank you all.
Thanks, Chief. So did the nationwide hack get rid of all your visuals?
Yeah, that